Hi everybody. Today we're going to learn about sine, cosine, and tangent. And if you have a calculator, it's time to get one out. I think you can use your phone, or I think you can use your computer for scientific calculator if you need to. But today we don't need the calculator, but tomorrow we're going to need it for sure. So it says the hypotenuse of a right triangle is always a side opposite the right angle. So here's the right angle, and right opposite it is called the hypotenuse. You already knew that. The other two sides are called the opposite and adjacent sides. The sides are labeled in relation to an angle. So you have to decide which angle you're talking about. So we're going to be talking about angle A. So for angle A, the opposite side is across from the given angle. So you go, here's angle A, and this is the opposite side, because it's across from angle A. This is the hypotenuse. So the side that's left is called the adjacent side. The adjacent side is the non-hypotenuse side that's next to. Adjacent means next to. So if we look at angle A, this side is adjacent to, it's right next to angle A, and this is the hypotenuse, and this is the opposite side. So you need to know for angle A which side is adjacent, which side is opposite, and which side is hypotenuse. And then you also have to know the same thing for angle B. It has a different side that's opposite, and it has a different side that's adjacent, and it has a different side that the hypotenuse is always the same. So right here it says, it is important that you always use the perspective or point of view from the angle you are referencing. So whatever angle they talk about in the problem, that's important. In the last two illustrations, the hypotenuse side is the same for both angles, while the opposite and adjacent sides change depending on which angle you're looking from. So what's opposite B is adjacent to A, and what's opposite A is adjacent to B. So you have to be careful. So I want you to answer this question. So we're using angle G, okay? Which side is the adjacent side? So look at the three answers. So the right answer is B. MG is the adjacent side. This is the hypotenuse, and this is the opposite side for angle G. Why are these words important? We're about to learn the trigonometric functions sine, cosine, and tangent, which are defined using the words hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. So it says the ratios of the side of the triangles are called trigonometric ratios. Three common trigonometric ratios are sine. We take the E off and it looks like sin, but it's sine. Cosine, we drop the I-N-E and just use cos. And tangent, we just write T-A-N. So this is how we define them. If we're using angle A, okay, this is opposite, this is adjacent next to, and this is hypotenuse. So sine of A is opposite over hypotenuse, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And we're talking about the lengths of those sides. Well, there's something that helps us remember these definitions, and it's called SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA is an easy way to remember the trig ratios. And I always say that SOHCAHTOA is Pocahontas' cousin, and she works on her feet all day, and her feet hurt really bad. So when she gets back to her house, all she wants to do is SOHCAHTOA, soak her feet. SOHCAHTOA, sine, okay, is opposite over hypotenuse. COH, opposite over hypotenuse. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That's the so part. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse. That's the ka. And then toa, tangent, is opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. So we're going to find some sides, some ratios, and that's all you're doing today. It's pretty simple what you're doing today. So we want to find sine A, cosine A, tangent A. And A is up here. And we have 4, 5, and 3. You can write it as sine A, or you can put parentheses around it if you want to. So opposite over hypotenuse. I'm going to write this. Every time you do problems, you should write SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite. Opposite A is BC, right? BC. And hypotenuse is AB. AB. BC is 3, AB is 5, so it's 3 over 5. The so part. Cosine is adjacent, right next to A, not the hypotenuse. This is opposite. This is adjacent, next to. So it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's AC over AB. And AC is 4 and AB is 5. So it's 4 over 5. That's the ka part. And then TOA is opposite BC over adjacent AC. So it's 3 over 4. So it's TOA. 3 over 4. So what if we wanted to do it from the perspective of B? We could say sine of B equals, so from B, what number is opposite B? 4, right? Opposite. And what's sine is sine opposite over hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is 5. So sine of B is 4 over 5. How about cosine of B? You always have to ask yourself which angle we're talking about. So what's next to B besides the hypotenuse? 3. And it's cosine, so it's adjacent over hypotenuse, 3 over 5. And the longest side is always the hypotenuse. And then tangent of B is equal to OA, opposite over adjacent. So what's opposite angle B? 4 over 3. 4 over 3. I have them labeled for angle A, but they switch for angle B. And you never would talk about the sine or cosine or tangent of angle C because it's a right angle. It's only of an acute angle that we talk about it. So the homework's going to be really easy. I'll post the answers later today. And you can get started on that. So for Math 3 and Math 2, they're different homework numbers. I think it's 103 for Math 3 and 108 for Math 2. So look for those worksheets, okay? Have a good day. Stay safe.